We are going to get started with our speakers, but prior to that, I would like to introduce Councilman Dan Medina, right here, who is going to be providing all these wonderful songs that a lot of us know. A lot of us know these songs. So if you feel like dancing while you're talking out there, go right ahead. So today our first speaker will be our city manager, Mitch Lansdale. He will basically cover emergency preparedness plan here in the city of Gardena, and followed by him will be Chief Ed Madrano, who will explain the GPD and Public Works response to a citywide disaster. Mitch?
Good morning again. First of all, on behalf of Mayor Tanaka and members of the City Council, and right now I see one member present, Councilman Dan Medina, please welcome to this event. No, it's been held in other locations in the past, but we certainly appreciate you coming out today. I just have a couple of comments regarding emergency preparedness prior to introducing the real Director of Emergency Services, Chief Madrano. Back in December of 2013, the City Council authorized retaining preparative consulting to assist the city in preparing an emergency plan for the city. I have several emergency plans on my shelf. None of them have been activated in the 29 years that I've been here, but the thing that strikes me about the process we're in right now is on May the 5th, city staff, about 70 staff members, went through a tabletop exercise with Mr. Paul Brockworth. And I was very impressed by the commitment of not only the employees, but the commitment of staff that's been involved in development of the plan. Certainly want to recognize the Gardena Emergency Preparedness Response Coalition, Tri-City CERT Association, Neighborhood Watch, Gardena Valley Baptist Church, our friends LA County Fire, thanks for being here, and of course the police department, along with G-Trans, which will have a part should there be a disaster within the city, certainly have a big role. See City Clerk Mina Semenza back there. Please make it through all these booths with the information and the kits that you need for your house, because you never know. The exercise we did was a 6.5 magnitude earthquake, and the things that happened in town I can't really explain, but if that should happen, I feel a lot better today about where we are citywide than we were 2 years ago. At this time, introduce the real Director of Emergency Services for the city, Chief Ed Madrano.
Morning, everyone. What I'm going to talk a little bit about is what the City of Gardena has done to prepare, and what our future holds, and more importantly, I'm going to end what your responsibilities are as community members. So as our city manager said, in 2013, our city council reinvested in making sure that we have a very robust emergency preparedness plan, but more than just having a plan, as the city manager said, sitting on a desk, that we actually practice and that we're able to implement that plan if it becomes necessary. So first off, every city employee that works here is by definition an emergency response person. So whether you work as a police officer in Public Works, even in City Hall or in community development, you're an emergency response worker, and you have to be prepared. So as the city manager said, a couple months ago, we had a pretty significant tabletop exercise practicing what we learned in that plan. And that means bringing together all of the different aspects of our city's resources to respond, because quite frankly, not one department can do it alone, and it takes a team effort. And as we all know, we also have a contract with the County of Los Angeles for fire, so it's important to bring them in as well so that our resources are coordinated. So as we look at having a response to any major incident, one of the first things that everyone needs to know, and hopefully you're getting as you're walking around, is you need to be self-sufficient. You need to be able to take care of yourself for the first 24, 48, 96 hours. Because quite frankly, government resources are going to be extremely tapped out. We're going to be responding to the most critical things first. We prioritize those things. One of the things we learned in our tabletops exercise is that we're going to have to make tough decisions. And some of those decisions may involve not being able to provide needs that some members in our community will require, because we have to prioritize that. And obviously the most important thing is saving lives. Property comes at a distant second to a life. So as we prioritize those needs, that means everyone has to be self-sufficient at home. You have to be able to have food and water so that you can, don't have to rely on government to come over and provide you drinkable water or food. You have to be able to understand and how to turn off your gas, your electric, all of those things that could potentially be risks at your home or in your business for that matter. You have to be able to do those things yourself. Someone's not going to come over after an emergency and say, hey, I'm here, I'm the designated turn off the gas guy. I'm going to go down the block. No, you have to do that for yourself. And as part of that is learning about your home, learning about how to do these things, and being prepared so that when you implement those plans, you're not doing it for the first time. I mean, we have booths here that'll show you how to turn off your electrical panel. We have booths here that show you how to turn off different various types of gas meters, water, etc., so that you can prepare and do those things yourself. I also see that we have vendors here with water and food. Critical component, you have to have drinkable water, you have to have food, because, as I said, it's going to take a while for government to come together and start being able to provide some of those resources. And in that time frame, it's up to you. It really is. We're going to continue with our planning as we have our next big exercise. Hopefully we'll even refine our skills even more and bring all the city resources together so that when something does happen, we're able to be prepared and to help you as much as possible. But like I said, the thing I want to stress is the reason we have these type of fairs and the reason we have all this information is for all of you to be self-sufficient, so you can be able to handle your immediate needs until other services are available. And we've learned from many, many, many disasters that government doesn't move as fast as we all think it does. And although we want to help, we can't always be there, so you need to help yourself. I hope everyone gets something out of this fair, and that you learn a little bit and you make some partnerships here and have a great time. So thank you.
I'd like to introduce our next speaker. It is retired Chief Jim Hone from the Santa Monica. He today is going to speak to emergency, response, and realities. Jim? Did you want it up here?
Thanks, Shar. Well, what I plan to do is to share with you some information about emergency response so that everyone in our community understands what is going to take place in the day-to-day emergencies as well as the large ones. A little bit about myself. After serving 36 years in the fire service, my wife and I moved here to Gardena a few years ago to be closer to our family. As you can tell by this stylish vest that I'm wearing, I belong to one of several of our volunteer community groups. Please think of getting involved as one of the things you should be doing to get as much information and be prepared as much as possible. And we're going to talk about that. During my career, I was able to respond to hundreds of different kinds of emergencies. I was deployed to 6 federal disasters, including hurricanes, earthquakes, and acts of terrorism. I've got a little bit of experience in this, and I can tell you that there really isn't much difference in how a community responds regardless of the cause of the incident. But I can tell you there's a huge difference between a community that's prepared and one that isn't. And I've responded to both kinds. And it really makes a difference on the quality of life and the ability for a community to recover either quickly or to have years and years of problems. After responding to a variety of emergencies and disasters, there's 3 emergency response realities I'd like to tell you about. The first is you need to really understand that what a person does to prepare prior to an emergency has directly more benefit to them for the number of injuries that have been reduced, the number of property saved, and the way that you can recover more quickly than any of the response that happens after the fact. What you do before is going to make more difference on your life and the life of your family and your quality of life than what happens after the event. What do I mean by that? Well, it can be something as simple as, have you taken the time to put a smoke detector in every one of your bedrooms or in your common hallway? If you haven't, that's something you can do now ahead of time, because in the middle of the night, if you have a fire, that's going to be devastating to the amount of damage you have in your home or to your personal injury. So it can be something that simple. If someone knocked on your door at 2 o'clock this morning and said, you have to evacuate now, we have a major gas leak, you need to leave now, and you're going to be out of your house for the next 3 days, do you have a go bag? Do you have medications? Do you have water? Do you have just some food, some clothing? Things like that are really simple, but if you haven't done that preparatory work, it's really going to make a difference in the long run and your comfort and your safety if you haven't. Other things you can do. You need to understand, if we have an earthquake, more injuries are caused by what is in your home than the building itself, and all those collapses you see in the movies and all that. That really doesn't happen all that often. Most injuries are caused by what's inside your house flying around because it hasn't been secured. A lot of people cut their feet, their hands, things like that, because they're trying to run through the hallway with all those pictures that have fallen off the wall and they're now broken and they're running through the house barefoot. A lot of injuries happen after that effect. TVs aren't mounted. They're flying across the room. Simple things that can be done to improve the quality of life and lessen the damage in your home if you take the time to do it ahead of time. So here's the second thing. There are never, ever, ever going to be enough police officers and firefighters to respond to a large emergency all at the same time. Does not happen. I don't care what community you're in, Gardena or New York. On 9/11, I don't know if you know it, but the fire department has 14,000 firefighters and about 45,000 police officers. And they couldn't handle everything that happened on 9/11. They needed mutual aid. And that's how it works on a day-to-day basis, mutual aid. If our police department has 2 or 3 incidents at the same time, or our fire department has 2 or 3 incidents at the same time, they move up resources from the communities that aren't affected. We help each other out. It's a very, very good system. But in a disaster or a large emergency like an earthquake, everyone is affected at the same time, and those resources that you're used to getting aren't coming for a while. That's why when Chief Medrano was up here, he was talking about you might be on your own for 24, 72 hours until enough resources come in. Let me ask you something. How many of you guys remember the Northridge earthquake? About 21 years ago? Did you guys feel much here? Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was okay. I worked in Santa Monica 30 years. I can tell you the day of that earthquake, it's only 20 miles from here to Santa Monica. We had over $250 million worth of damage. We had 13 structure fires all at the same time. 7 of them were apartment buildings. We had over 300 natural gas leaks. We had hundreds of water leaks. I had to evacuate one of our hospitals, one of our 2 hospitals. How many hospitals we have here in Gardena? 1. What if that shut down? Okay? So those are the kind of things our community could be faced with. We asked for mutual aid immediately upon the earthquake. It took 6 hours to get firefighters from Orange County to finally assist us in Santa Monica, because all the other communities weren't there and available to help because they had their own emergencies they were dealing with. And remember, the freeway system stayed pretty much intact. The earthquake was a 6.7, lasted about 10 to 15 seconds. Not really a big earthquake. Enough to do some damage, but not a big earthquake. Big earthquakes start about the 7.5, 7.6 range. So when you go up one number from a 6.7 to a 7.7, you need to understand that the energy release is 32 times the energy release to go one whole number. So the shaking, the intensity, the duration, 32 times more to get to that next number. And that's what they're predicting. Somewhere in the 7.5, 7.7, 8 range is the next Southern California earthquake. Might happen. Okay, you guys raise your hands for remembering the Northern earthquake. Okay, who out there can predict assuredly when the next earthquake's going to happen? Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand. That's a good answer. No one knows. A lot of people are saying could happen anytime, could happen in the next 30 years, could happen while I'm talking here on the microphone. I don't know when it's going to happen. No one does. All right, if no one can tell me when the next one's going to happen, let me ask you this. Raise your hand. Who can guarantee that an earthquake in Southern California will never, ever, ever happen again? Okay, no one's raising your hand again. Okay, so if we don't know when the next one's going to happen, and we know for sure one is going to happen, what can we do about it? Well, we can go back to reality number one, what we do before the event. Let me ask you this. Do you think you'll have more time to prepare now and today or after the event? When everyone else is trying to go get their food. You know what? I should have got that today, and now I'm going to go to Sam's Club with the 5,000 other people because they all want their food and water now. Well, why not get it now while there's no real crowd there? Why wait until after the event? So that's what we're trying to do today, is share information about getting prepared. Do it now. Don't wait until after the event. What you do before the event will really make a difference in your quality of life and your safety. Here's the other thing. Here's the third reality. Recovering from large emergencies and disasters in a timely and effective manner requires everybody. It's not a police issue. It's not a fire issue. It's not public works. It is everybody. And I can tell you, every city department is valuable in trying to bring the community back after a large disaster. But the community is also a valuable player in that. The community has a responsibility to be as prepared as possible. If you were a prepared community, you took some training over here and learned how to shut off your water, gas, and electricity, when to, and sometimes more importantly, when not to, all right? Can you be a help to your community? If I can shut off my gas if it's leaking, and I can prevent my house from catching on fire and burning my next 3 neighbors' houses on fire, are those less responses the fire department has to go to? Yeah, it is. So the community can be a tremendous asset if they're helping to prevent things from occurring in your community. Those are the kind of things that happen. But everyone plays a role. The community being prepared, the city being able to respond, having the staffing, the training, and the equipment to do that, and every city department is important. Departments you wouldn't even think about. G-Trans. We have the big, nice, beautiful bus out there with G-Trans. Well, what are they going to do during an emergency? They're a valuable resource. They're driving the streets. They can tell which roads are open and which roads aren't open. So the police and fire department can get that information and know what to avoid if things are blocked. What else they can do? They can move people who have to be evacuated from this area and bring them over to a safe area. Buses are a tremendous resource. Public Works. We got our Public Works vehicles out there. They're going to be invaluable for moving debris out of the roadway so we can get emergency vehicles in. They're also going to be critical for repairing our infrastructure, getting our gas, our water, electricity back online. Because if businesses can't open, they can't sell their products. We don't have a tax base, people move out of your community. We lost 3,000 residential properties in Santa Monica after the Northridge earthquake. We took a $1.7 million hit in our general fund in tax revenue the year of the earthquake because people couldn't do business. And that's why building and safety is so important. Building and safety, the planning department, the quicker you can do inspections, the quicker you can get building permits, the quicker the businesses and community can recover. People can reoccupy the apartments that had to be vacated. It brings the community back, but everyone plays a vital role. Human resources, parks and recs. This is where our shelters are going to be and managed. They do a tremendous resource. So lots of city departments, but they're only part of the equation. The community is just as important of an equation. If you don't get injured, if you're taking care of your property, if you prevent things from occurring, then you don't need those few city resources coming and assisting you because you're taking care of your own thing. And that helps the city recover quicker. 3 things. Have a plan, get some supplies, get involved. Get involved by finding out the information you need. Get involved if you want a stylish vest like mine by taking some training and joining a community group, Neighborhood Watch, Disaster Communications Service, the CERT program, which I'm a part of along with the other groups. Lots of different opportunities. Some of your faith-based organizations, your churches, your synagogues, excellent resources to help the community stay together, stay informed, and be able to recover. All right? The last thing I'll leave you with is please visit all the exhibit booths. Everyone has something unique to share. There's even some free stuff being given away. Great food trucks over here. I want to thank you all for coming. Please come and enjoy this fair. And if you've got someone you can call on the cell phone and say, come on out, this is a good day. Bring them on down. Enjoy the fair, and we'll see you later.
Good afternoon once again. We have our final speaker for today. Sometimes they say the best till last. However, we have had some wonderful speakers that have given out a lot of wonderful information. I would like to introduce Mr. Sinan Khan, who is from LA County Office of Emergency Management. And he will inform us as to helping persons with access and functional needs during a disaster. Mr. Khan.
Well, thank you for that introduction, by the way. I appreciate that. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sinan Khan. I'm with Los Angeles County Office of Emergency Management. Our role is to make sure the community is prepared in addition for any catastrophic event. Our role is to make sure that the emergency is well coordinated throughout the operational area. Today I actually wanted to talk to you about some basic things in addition, some things that have a specific focus for people with access and functional needs as well as disabilities. So me and my colleague Ken Kondo from LA County, we actually brought together quite a few really neat material. The first one is the Emergency Survival Guide. Okay? This book actually has information on the 10 essential items that everyone would need in order to prepare for an emergency. It also has information on how to build a communications plan. Okay? How will you communicate with your family during an emergency? Okay. Your local phone lines may be overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to call locally. So it talks about having an out-of-state contact in order for everyone to call that person out of state so everyone can know if your family is safe and taken care of. The other is evacuation. The booklet actually provides a area where you can actually map out how you're going to evacuate your home, how you're going to evacuate your office. Okay? And then it has information on people with disabilities. Let's say you are in a wheelchair and an earthquake strikes. Everyone's going to drop, hold, and cover. What are you going to do? First, you want to make sure that you lock your wheels. Okay. You want to make sure you lock your wheels. In addition, you want to make sure you hold and protect your head, most importantly. Okay? You duck down as far as you can and you protect your head. Okay? And then finally, hold on tight. The other material that we actually have today is another booklet called Stay Safe, Stay in Control. This booklet is specific to people with disabilities and others with access and functional needs. Okay? So it actually has a section where you can assess your ability. Okay? Let's say there is a fire. You know where the fire extinguisher in your home is. Can you actually use the extinguisher? Can you actually reach it during an emergency? Let's say you are at work. Okay? Your work is supposed to be ADA compliant, but some facilities are not. So let's say there is an exit that's used to evacuate. Okay? Can it accommodate you as well as your equipment? Okay. What if there is a power door and the electricity is out? Okay. How are you going to exit at that point? Okay. You want to make sure you plan these things early on because you want to be as well prepared for any emergency as possible. You also want to know where your emergency water and gas shutoff are. Can you actually reach them and turn them off? Okay. Let's say you have issues with your vision. Okay. Let's say you basically guide yourself based on sound, like you know where the elevator is based on the chime. Okay. During an emergency when the elevators are out or there is very little sound, can you find your exits? Okay. Finally, what if you have hearing aids? Okay, you have difficulty hearing. Do you have extra batteries? Let's say you're evacuated or you're sheltered at home. There is no electricity. There is no additional power. Do you have extra batteries at home? What about your assisted devices? Okay. Can you take your assistive device out of the building with you? Let's say your office is on the 5th floor, okay, and you are in a wheelchair. Okay. The wheelchair is electronically powered, so with battery, it weighs around 150 pounds. During an emergency, let's say the elevator is out. Okay. What is your plan to evacuate the facility? Have you spoken to your supervisor? Have you spoken to your company to provide you accommodation? These are things that really need to be thought out early on in the planning process rather than during an emergency. Okay? Is your office or your employer willing to provide you additional accommodation? Okay? Let's say you're at work, something happens, and your wheelchair may not be able to be transported down. Are they going to provide you an accommodation on the 1st floor that could replace your wheelchair? Okay. So what is the backup plan? Finally, another thing a lot of people don't think about is a lot of the assistive devices are electronically powered. Okay. What is your plan to recharge your electronic device? Okay. Do you have extra battery? Do you have extra portable batteries? Okay. Do you have the right outlet to be able to power your wheelchair quickly? There are some cables that may take 45 minutes to an hour to recharge your device, whereas there are others that could take 4 to 6 hours because they can only carry so much current. Okay. In addition, what about medication? You want to make sure that you at least at the minimum have your prescriptions with you. Okay. It's always recommended that you have additional medication stored as a part of your essential items, as a part of your go kit. Okay. In addition, what about service animals? A lot of folks have service animals. Okay. If you have a service animal, it would be your responsibility to pack emergency supplies for them. Your service animal, if it's a dog, is going to need food and water just like you. Okay? So you want to make sure those needs are met as a part of your go kit. Finally, the last thing that I'm going to talk about today is a program called SNAP. Okay? In Los Angeles County, we have this thing called Specific Needs Awareness Planning. I know the acronym is the same as the food stamp program, but they're actually two different things, and that is a very lovely dog, by the way. The thing with the SNAP program is it's a registry for people who may need additional assistance during an emergency. So let's say during an emergency, okay, after I'm done, I'm actually going to go pick up that dog, so I'm going to pick up the speed a tad. So we have specific need awareness planning, and the purpose of specific needs awareness planning is for individuals that may need additional assistance during an emergency. Let's say you are homebound and you want to let first responders know if there is an evacuation order that you don't have the means to evacuate. What do you do at that point? Okay? This program, SNAP, you could actually go online, okay, and complete a registration that would let emergency responders know where you are in case something's to happen in your neighborhood. If you want any of these 3 materials that I talked about, Stay Safe, Stay in Control, the Emergency Survival Guide, as well as SNAP, please stop by the Office of Emergency Management booth that's right behind you. Okay? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful day.